Hello again, my fellow DIY loving friends. I'm Sarah, and this is Medicated Housewife DIY, where crafting and mental health come together. Ever wondered how to transform a simple Dollar Tree item into a high-end designer decor piece? Well, stick around because today we're turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Get ready to transform your space with high-end looks that scream summer decor without the hefty price tag. If you found yourself feeling this summer vibes but not those summer prices, let's craft our way to a stunning home without breaking the bank using some of our favorite Dollar Tree finds. So what are we waiting for? Let's go DIY together. For this DIY, I'm using 2 of these flexible chopping mats from Dollar Tree. They come in a pack of 2, so we're going to be using both of them for this project. I made this cardboard template of a cone shape myself, but you can Google lampshade templates and get similar templates to download. And this particular one, I made it 5 inches wide and just about 13 inches at the widest point, which is considered oversized for making a wine glass lampshade, which is what we are making. So, spoiler alert there. I traced the template onto one of the chopping mats with a washable marker so I could remove the marker later and used a scissors to cut it out. Then I repeated that on the second chopping mat as well, so I would have 2 of these cut out cone shapes on my mats. And because I know from experience that glue and these flexible mats don't really mix, these mats are pretty nonstick for the most part. I figured the most inconspicuous way to attach my cone shape would be to use thin strips of clear packing tape. I started by rolling the mat into the cone shape, used a large piece of tape to hold it in place, and then used thinner strips of that same tape along the inner seam first, followed by the outer seam, removing the large piece of tape in the middle as I went along, and I replaced it with thinner pieces along that seam. I did the first flexible mat cone that way, and then I repeated it the exact same way the second time for the second cone. Next, I have this rattan cane stuff that is actually made out of plastic and not natural fibers like I'd really prefer that I have, but it's what I have, so we're gonna work with it. I will link a better one for you in the description box below. Now, I used the same template on the rattan to cut out that same cone shape. So I traced it out on 2 pieces of rattan and cut them both out just like I did with the chopping mats. To create the rattan cones, I'm using hot glue, and I used the hot glue along the inner and then the outer seams of the rattan, just like we did with the tape on those chopping mats. I'm using some clips to hold those cones in place so I can hot glue both of them while holding them in place simultaneously. So, because as I said before, this rattan is made out of plastic, it's going to stay this light color and it's not going to get weathered or aged to a nice warm look. So we're going to fake it with some folk art antique wax. Just using this brush, this dry brush, to spread and blend the wax, giving me a nice toasted brown kind of a look that's going to mimic what natural aging would do to a natural fibered rattan, which this is not because it's made out of plastic. If I haven't mentioned that before, it's plastic rattan. At this point, I felt like we needed a little something more. So I grabbed this faux leather from Dollar Tree that's kind of a brown color, even though they call it red on the package. So keep that in mind. I placed the chopping mat cone inside the rattan cone, and I had cut strips of the faux leather that were 1/2 inch wide. And I used some hot glue to add a strip of the leather around the bottom of the lampshade just to make it a bit more finished looking overall. It was looking a little plain and sad and plastic rattan-like, if you know what I mean. After seeing how the first strip of leather looked, I then decided to add a second strip going around the top of the lampshade, just like that bottom strip of leather that we had added before. I really didn't like the unfinished, messy look inside of the top of that lampshade, so I used some of my favorite thick jute twine, which I'll link for you below, and hot glued that around the inside of the shade on the top edge. I decided to do the same thing on the inner edge around the bottom of the lampshade to camouflage that unfinished edge using the same jute twine. And because clearly I don't know when to stop, I added the jute above the bottom strip of leather as well. And to keep this party going, why not add another piece of jute below the leather strip, just like the one above, because more is better, right? Yes, so we're not even done yet. Because we want to make that top leather edge match the bottom, I did the exact same thing with the jute at the top of the lampshade. And once I finished that, I placed the finished lampshade on top of a reusable plastic wine glass from Dollar Tree, and off camera, I dropped a battery-operated tea light inside, also from Dollar Tree. So, truth be told, my husband and I built these two matching high-top tables for the bar area of our backyard, and I just knew that a pair of rattan lamps would look amazing on those two tables, and they did. I simply love these mini rattan wine glass lamps, and the fact that not only are they made out of Dollar Tree chopping mats, they also are made out of plastic wine glasses, so there will be no shattering glass on my patio area when someone inevitably knocks one over on the ground. Easy, high-end, stunning, and safe. Now that's a great summer DIY. For this DIY, I've got this 8-inch bamboo hoop, like the kind you can get at Dollar Tree, as well as 22 of these wood rings, also like the kind you can get at Dollar Tree. I'm using Starbond Super Glue as well as the Starbond Glue Accelerator, both of which I'll link for you below. And I'm gluing 12 of the wood rings to the edge of the bamboo hoop, standing up all around the entire hoop. And off camera, I did have some trouble fitting the last wood ring between the two remaining rings, so I did end up using a set of clippers to trim both sides of the ring so it could squeeze itself into place, if that makes sense. It was a little wonky looking, but it's not terribly noticeable in the final project, so frankly, that's good enough for me. Once that first row of rings was glued down, I added a second row of 12 wood rings directly on top of the bottom 12 rings. I used the accelerator to help make the glue hold more immediately. And again, off camera, I did have to trim both sides of that final 12th ring in order for it to squeeze in and fit between the remaining rings. And again, a little wonky, but nothing too bad. Once I gave that glue some time to fully set, I decided to paint the entire thing in a glossy white finish. I'm using Apple Barrel White Gloss Acrylic, which I will link for you below, and I'm starting with painting the entire inside, all of those rings inside and all those little nooks and crannies, and eventually made my way to the outside of the project. All in all, I ended up doing 3 coats of the white gloss paint to get really full coverage. Now, initially, I was going to do a distressed antique wax over the white paint for more of a rustic or farmhouse kind of a look, but at the last minute, I changed my mind and I decided I'd like the project better with a bit more of a glam kind of a vibe. I grabbed this Folk Art Treasure Gold paint, which I'll link for you below, and a dry chip brush and did a rough dry coat of the gold all over the twists and turns of the wood rings, just to give it almost a gold leaf kind of an effect, but a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. Same look, but a lot easier. I used the gold inside and outside of the white hoop and rings and allowed it to fully dry. Originally, I was going to use this 12-inch wood round painted to match the base or possibly stained a dark wood as the top of the project, but I happen to have two of these dark wood platters in my stash. I forgot where I got them, but I will look for something similar to link for you. But one of those worked absolutely perfectly on top of my wood ring stand. And this is my faux gold leaf and glossy white ring stand with a gorgeous dark wood top. I don't know about you, but I love the look of dark wood mixed with a little gold accent, and when you throw in some glossy white, it really brings in a nice crisp addition. I love the look of this platform or riser, great for candles and greenery, or I thought about maybe using it as an upscale charcuterie serving tray. Lots of directions you can go here, but all are perfect for your summer decor. Thanks for joining me on this creative journey. I hope you're inspired to try these stunning Dollar Tree projects. Don't forget to subscribe to Medicated Housewife DIY for more budget-friendly DIYs. Let me know in the comments below which DIY was your favorite and why. You know I love hearing from all of you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember that together we're making the world a more beautiful place, one DIY at a time.